at the start of the day, the problem is ego and envy.
You said it, you hit it right on the head, winning together.
Yeah.
I think every successful person wants to win with other people. That's just the way that business works, right? You do better when you're winning with other people.
Yep. And there's sometimes I'm like, haha, fuck you. Yeah. And go down. And it's like I get a 30-minute meditation just sitting in 60 feet of water. It's amazing.
And when you're thinking about, I think in analogies, which I think is like, it's difficult honestly when I'm down there because I literally like my brain does weird associations and stuff like that. I'm like, this is like business, and then I'm like, there's things I'm stressed out about business. My brain kind of goes off, but it's like
this is an opportunity to shut it off, though.
Yeah, exactly. And that's I think what I realized yesterday. So I got out of the water. I'll just tell my brief little.
Yeah.
I got out of the water because I was stressed out, and I was like, I just need to process this for a day, and I'm committed to getting back in. And of course, I'll know once this goes out whether I did or not. But just like realizing that I am conquering a fear, and then I don't know. It does relate totally to all this stuff but I basically realized I needed to slow down today, have less caffeine, and focus on the day as much as I possibly could. And focus on today because that's going to help me slow my breathing, get just a little bit more just aware of everything that's going on. And I think that that's a tough thing about business too. I'm going to bring this back and let's go into the business stuff for our audience. The complexities of business, especially when you're thinking a couple years out, and as a visionary entrepreneur, you're kind of you gotta think about a year or two from now, and like think about threats and think about pivots and all this. It's difficult to stay in the moment in the day and I think treating our people decently and like that type of thing is difficult, man. It's fucking hard, like to be an entrepreneur and be thinking about all this shit.
But not if you schedule the time to do the different things, right? So if you schedule the time to have the visionary moments of, hey, I'm planning for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, right? Then you fucking table that and you build it backwards. So you're like, what do I need to do every day to be able to get to the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan? And then you're not focusing on the 5-year and the 10-year plan anymore. Now you can live in that moment and in that day and understand, hey, these are the goals that I need to accomplish this week. And if I'm not accomplishing them, I need to pivot to make that week work or that month work or that quarter work. Because if you don't accomplish the weekly goals, the monthly goals, the quarterly goals, you're not going to accomplish the yearly and 5-year goals anyway, right? So why are we worrying about the 5-year goals? Like, set it and forget it, right? I'm not the one that fucking coined that, right? Like many people have said that, but set it and forget it. But only if you build the plan to execute it and accomplish it so that you know what you're doing every day is leading you to those goals. And I think that's where salespeople fuck up, right? They set that annual goal for themselves. They're like, I'm going to sell 1.2 million this year, right? And then they go gung ho for a week or two, and then they have this lull where they don't do shit. And it's like they didn't take the time to be consistent. I tell my guys all the time, like, we do not say the word grind, right? We do not say the word grind in our company. Everything is consistency, right? Because if you grind, what happens? Gears fucking fail when you grind. But if you're consistent over time, that car runs forever. Right. So that's what we teach, because again, don't worry about it. Right. Set it, forget it, build the plan, execute it, and you'll hit those goals. And if you don't, you're going to get pretty fucking close, because your 5 and 10 year goals should have been pretty lofty anyway. Right. So like, you're still miles ahead of where you were, where you thought you could be anyway. Right.
Talk to me about, we were talking about before this podcast about the problem with people seeing these giant companies and then even just trying to rush to 10 million or rush to 20 million. They're at 1 million now or whatever. What is the real problem there? Like, why does it matter if they rush?
I mean, at the start of the day, the problem is ego and envy. And that's why they do it, right? Because I don't think, and again, this is, everybody's unique, obviously, but the problem I see is that they're doing it for the wrong reasons. So they're doing it because they see somebody that's, they're doing 1 million and they're like, but that guy's doing 20. I need to do 20. Okay, why? Well, because they are, and I want more money. Ooh, if the only fucking reason you're doing this is because you want more money, you're probably going to fail, right? If that's the only reason that you're trying to put this together. So the difference between 1 and 3 is astronomical, right? Difference between 3 and 6 is astronomical. And then once you get past 6, 7, 8, 9, like then it's just rebuilding the process, right? And building more teams and more overhead and everything else that comes with it. But I think that people need to stop being ashamed of incremental growth, right? There's going to be companies that, you know, have some huge hailstorm, like Steven Masson, right? He's an awesome dude. And he went from like 1 or 2 to like 9, right? Because he had those enormous storms in St. Louis, and you know what I mean? And like, so he's an anomaly, right? And he was able to make that work. And if you have the perfect storm and you've already got guys lined up, and you know what I mean? Like, you can do that. Or if you throw in a little bit of commercial, right? Whatever. But I think we need to stop being ashamed of I did 1, I did 3. You know what I mean? And understanding what that incremental growth looks like, because if your goal is to have a sustainable business, right, to have over time, that's how it lasts. Because the guys that fail, and I've had seasons of this where I screwed up and like I had way too much overhead, and then we didn't sell enough to cover the fucking overhead that I had brought in and incurred, right? So we might have done more revenue, but I made a shitload less money. So why did I do it? What was the point? Right? Why wouldn't I have cleaned up my systems and my processes and got my people that were already there to perform at a higher level instead of just hiring, and then it didn't happen, right? Now, that's not to say that it can't. Again, it goes back to don't be ashamed to live in the world that you're living in and grow at a sustainable pace. I think sustainable is the word that we were looking for earlier. It's about consistency and stability. We want the business to be stable. Right? We don't want right? We want right? That's what we want. Right? And I think that the guys that have the big egos and they're only doing it for ego and envy, they're going to go and then crash. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we've seen a good chunk of those. It's sad. Every time I see that, I'm like, oh no. And I love
not every time. There's sometimes I'm like, haha, fuck you. But I'm kind of a dick. So
So Rilla allows you to listen to it's an AI in your pocket. Listens to the appointment. It's pretty crazy what it can do. It gives a script, it gives everything they said, it breaks down some statistics for you.
Analyze talk ratio, interactivity, like how you and I are interacting back and forth, longest modeling, like all those things.
This is the shit that I most believe in AI. You know what I mean?
Enhancing the
You're
user
about to put
experience.
math and data around something that used to be my magic skill.
So, before we get into more topics, you've got consulting going on right now too, right? You have a consulting
We
service?
do, yeah. It was never my intention to do that. What happened was I coined that keynote that I did at RoofCon, and then I did it at D2DCon a couple times, and I've done it 6-7 times. And it's talking about creating a cult-like following inside of your company by utilizing the team method, right? And I had such great feedback from that. And everybody was like, man, that's awesome. I want to talk more about this. I want to learn more about this. And I was like, but I never had anything to sell. Right? And most people that get up on stage, everybody in this place that gets up on stage has something to sell to get up on stage, because we don't get paid generally to get up on stage.
You're just less motivated if you don't.
Right. But I just kind of wanted to help people, and I thought it was cool. And then I had people come to me and want to explore what it looked like. And I was like, well, how do I do that? And I was actually on Brad Lee's podcast, and he then called me and asked me to lead his group calls. And I was like, okay, cool. And I led a couple of his group calls, and I was like, fuck, I love this. And so that was why I built the Cult Culture program, to have these group calls twice a month for accountability. And we do a ton of different things together, whether it's read books together and like really dive in. You normally read a book and then you get done, and what do? You go, I read a book.
Well, I just talk about it to my wife on the way home from work 5 times until she tells me to stop.
Right. But what a lot of people don't do is grab is grab a sheet of paper or go get the worksheet off of their website that they offer you and actually take the notes and figure out what you're going to implement, right? Why? Because we don't have anybody to be accountable to. So I wanted to build something where we could hold each other accountable and say, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to do it together, right? And then we're going to go do cool shit as well. This trip isn't all people from that group, obviously. I mean, you're here, but the idea is to put that together. I have no desire to be some giant mastermind, thing. I'm not trying to compete with the Circle or Revolt or anything, or the program or any of those things. Like, that's not my intention. My intention is to have a tight-knit group of guys that love to go do shit like this and love to hold each other accountable, and they're high performers and they have goals and they understand what they're trying to do, and we all get to do it together as men.
Absolutely. I know, like,
and women, I just don't have any yet.
I know that you're you've been talking about the culture thing, cult culture, for a second now. But I do think that if you're personal branding, if you have a few things, like you've got authentic, you've got the cult culture thing, like it's good to have, even though you get sick of talking about it, it's good to talk about it, because for some reason, brains remember people more when they've got a thing. I've got a thing, So like, I don't know, mine is the memes or whatever. Like, so I'm trying to, I've got 100%. That, So can you give me, like, for those of you folks that haven't seen the keynotes on creating a cult like culture and stuff like that, can you just talk to me about like a few of the key points that you think really will hit home with some folks about that, how to create that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's obviously a very long conversation, a very long discussion, but the way it breaks down is I believe in building trust, empathy, authenticity, and meaning in your organization, in your people. So how do we do that, right? The trust part, we have to figure out how to get them to trust us, but how do we trust them, right? So again, that goes back to us learning how to delegate and how to do all these
How to be away from our business.
How to be away from our businesses, exactly, right? But how do we trust those people to do that? But not only how do we trust them, but how do we get them to truly trust us, right? So then that goes into the other aspects of it that all lead back to trust, right? So then we have empathy. How do we show empathy to our people, right? Because it goes to our clients too. What do we teach our salespeople? We teach our salespeople to empathize with the client, to find out what it is that they need and what they're feeling, right? So that we can give them what they need to solve their problem, right? So why aren't we doing the same thing inside of our company? Why aren't we finding out what our people need to perform at a high level? Because every single person inside of your company is a different human being. Our jobs as owners is to learn how to affect each one of those people, right? Because you've got people with so many different personalities, and I can say certain things to one person that I can't say to another. I have certain employees that I can be like, buck the fuck up and let's go, right? And they'll be like, yeah. And then I got a next person and be like, okay, we need to talk about this. And I need to bring my level down, and I need to be quiet, and I need, right? But if you don't take the time to learn that, then those good people that just operate on a different frequency are going to leave, right? And now we don't have a business anymore. We have a job, right? And then the next one's authenticity. Obviously, that one's my favorite, but authenticity to me means, and I know you're going to ask this question, is actually showing up as who you are and not pretending to be someone else. I think at the end of the day, that's the easiest explanation of what I think it is. And people can have different definitions, but you asked me. So I think it has to do with Tim not trying to be Gary Vee, right? It's me not trying to be Ed Milet, right? Now, can we learn from those people, right? Absolutely. We should learn from those people and implement some of the things that we learn from them. But we shouldn't be trying to practice their cadence and, you know what I mean? Like, and be them. Figure out who you are.
By the way, your voice actually does sound a little bit like Ed. Like Ed? now that you said that.
I'm trying to be like Ed. Yeah, I'm trying to be like Ed. But showing up as who you are. And here's the thing that people might get frustrated with in the beginning. They might not know who the fuck they are. right? And so that's
or they might have a low estimation of themselves.
Yeah.
And that's why they're trying to pretend.
Yeah.
Because when you're early or you were a piece of shit.
Yep.
I was a piece of shit.
Yep. Or they're playing the fake it till you make it game.
Yeah, which feels necessary at the beginning of like you're starting a business thing, and it felt like you were a piece of shit, so it feels like you need to.
But you're still your own authentic self, and you know what your core values are. You know what your belief system is. You know what your non-negotiables are still. And if you don't, you better sit down and journal that shit and figure it out, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what your entire company and organization is going to be built on, right? Is what you believe. And just because somebody else believes something different, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. And then the last one is meaning. And so I'll be honest, I actually had the first three. And I was talking to my coach about it. I was building this out. And he's like, you need a fourth. And I was like, do I? He's like, yeah, you need a fourth. And we were sitting there and he goes, do you care about giving meaning to your people? I'm like, oh yeah, shit, that's great, man. Yeah, like meaning. Let's dig into that. And he's like, I'm like, why meaning? And he's like, honestly, because it ends in an M and then we can make it the team method. I was like, oh brilliant. All right.
Hey, and it's something we're all looking for.
And it is. Everybody's looking to figure out how to put meaning into their lives, and our employees don't want to feel like a number. They don't want to show up like when I don't know if you went to college, but I went to college for a short time, and you were known as your social security number, right? I don't want people to show up to my business and feel like another number. I want them to feel like I actually care about what they care about. Or I should say that a different way. I might not care what they care about, right? But I want them to know that I care that they care. So then it means something to me, right? And if we do that consistently as well, we're just getting them to buy in even more, right? That's when you can get people that don't leave you because the guy down the street is going to give you an extra half a point, right? Because that's the goal here, is to keep people regardless of somebody trying to come and poach your people, right? And they're like, no, why would I leave? Like, I have this amazing environment here and this amazing culture of people that care about me. Like, he cares about me, right? Like, I care about their health, right? They come in and I'm like, dude, you don't get to work here and be a fat fuck. Like, you need to get off your ass and go for a walk. Like, because if you can't take the time to want to take care of yourself, why should clients think that you're going to take care of them? You don't even care about you. Why don't you care about you? Well, I've got to make money. Well, you're going to make a lot more if you walk into a room with a confidence level because you're confident in who you are. Now, that's not in the team method, but it's fucking important.
Yeah. So I watch a lot of documentaries on cults.
Okay.
And I always like pulling something that they're doing for leadership because it is.
Oh, they're brilliant.
Yeah. I always study them. I was accused of being a cult. I'm just bringing in all my cult references real quick.
Yeah.
Because a bunch of people on my team got the logo tatted on them.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn hated it. So we decided to double down.
Why did LinkedIn hate it?
LinkedIn, you know, the people on LinkedIn are stuffy a little bit sometimes.
Sure.
And so they were like, what is this, a fucking cult and all this shit? And I was like, no, they wanted to do this. I simply paid for them to do that.
Yeah.
I brought the tattoo artist, but they wanted it and all that. And then, so I decided what's better than to double down when crazy shit happens.
So let me ask you,
on
something like that, when something like that happens, because I've heard you actually say something like this a couple of times while you've been here. Does it bother you, or are you more concerned about algorithm and more people seeing it?
I think at that exact moment I was.
But in general,
I was upset, but I was kind of like, it bothered me for sure. It actually bothered me, but at the same time, it's kind of both. I'm also feeling, all right, this post just got 5 times my last best post in the last couple months on LinkedIn.
Because it stirred controversy.
Because people hate it. And it's weird how that works. And I do think it's an odd phenomenon that we've got in our culture right now that like it does. There are people pursuing. Stop commenting on that shit, by the way, if you're on YouTube. Or, like, I'm not saying for my safety. I'm saying for your own thing, because it will show you more cringe shit. My Instagram right now, I followed a couple cringe pages that are intended to be cringe. I don't know why. I'd like, I guess, what is this?
Because why not?
What is this feeling?
Right.
It's kind of like fails back in the day.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
we were really in the fails, and now it's cringe.
Yep.
And like literally if I sign into my personal Instagram page, it's either butts or cringe.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you talked about empathy there. How do you cut authenticity with empathy?
What do you mean?
Like, let's say if we had a pile of authenticity right here on the table.
Yeah.
And we're like, you know what? If we snort all this, we're gonna get fucking too high, so we have to cut it.
But being authentic doesn't mean that you're loud or you're boisterous or you don't give a fuck, unless that's who you are.
Yeah.
Right? And like you always have to be loud and confrontational and you know what I mean? Like being authentic doesn't mean that. Being authentic means being who you are. So it has nothing to do with like I don't think being authentic is being like me.
Yeah.
I think being me is being authentic. I don't want you to be like me.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think they're not mutually exclusive
it's
at all.
Because I think sometimes my authentic self is very calm, and I sometimes extrovert out because I'm for business I have to or whatever.
But do you?
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like,
why?
wow. I think
I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying why do you think you have to?
Yeah, I think that's something I'm working on.
Do you think people won't pay attention to you because you don't have enough value to give if you're not loud?
That's definitely part of it.
I think that's bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't think you should have to do that. I loved getting to know you outside of the camera bullshit, and that's why I like Tim.
Yeah.
I give zero fucks about the loud Tim that makes noise. Right? When I actually got to know Tim, I was like, oh, that guy. Okay. That's who I like. Okay. I think that, you know what I mean? So like, I'm just saying you don't have to be anything. You get to fucking be you.
I think the other thing is that we're different sometimes. I guess authenticity, I do think authentically, I'm a little like this.
Sure. And I think we all are.
Sometimes I am actually really intense and sometimes I'm very calm. So
and I'm the same way. I get fired the fuck up. And then other times I like to sit here and chill and have a real quiet, low key conversation. So I think you're absolutely right. I think that if you're in that moment and you're like, I'm acting or I'm pretending to gain whatever it is that you're trying to gain, then I'm not saying don't do that. The people shouldn't do that, but they should definitely look in the mirror.
Views, followers, clout.
But make sure you're asking yourself why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it for the right reasons, and make sure that you're okay with it. Because I think eventually it'll catch up to you if you continue to do it and it's not you and you start to feel gross because of it.
Yeah. I think I agree.
Is that fair?
Yes, that's good. And I do think if you think about the views, followers, content addiction stuff.
Yep.
Which, if you're a content creator.
I mean, I look at the numbers.
Yeah. That we all kind of have a little bit, like everyone that like creates a lot of content.
Yep.
There's like, and as a business owner, I think a lot of business owners on here are looking at their 200 view TikTok and they're like, fuck, I need to do something weird. Or like, I'm going to try stuff. And I think like, it's true. We should be trying stuff. Mm-hmm. But as it clicks, that's the other thing. The success clicks. Like if you're working on something, and damn, I know how to get 1,000 views. I know how to get 10,000 views. I know how to get more stuff, but it's kind of weird, or it gets haters, and then like there's a dopamine addiction that happens. My wife puts it between like ego marketing and like bottom line marketing. And she's like, watch this shit. Like, watch yourself a little bit, because we don't need 1 million views a week. We've been averaging a fucking 1 million views a week, like crazy, like on Reels.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Memes and shit like that. She's like, we don't need that shit. We need 100,000 or whatever. We need a lower amount that's like actually at the people that we want to talk to.
Correct.
Like, we don't need the world to know about this. We need the people
that need to know.
Like in a local market, we need our local market to know. If I'm some guy marketing to roofers, I need the roofers to know. Like just making sure that you're on the primary audience. And I hate to go meta here, but there is something about like if you kind of play into the broader audience a little bit, it sometimes feeds the tighter audience. Like, so if you do get more views in general, then some people in the tight market will see it.
Will perk up.
But yeah, it's a dopamine addiction, I think, too.
Yep,
so like that's
agree.
something I'm really watching, like, or not. I don't know how to fix it, but I'm just aware of the problem.
Yep.
Do you have any of that going on? Like, what do you feel like is since we can talk a little bit about recovery.
Mm-hmm.
What is something you feel like you're addicted to right now? And I don't need to. We don't need to make it X-rated if it's that direction, but
yeah, that's a great question. I haven't really thought about. I'm
dopamine addicted for phone. I'm addicted to my phone. You got that?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes, in the fact that, like, if I try to put it away for too long, I'll have that weird little anxiety thing. Yeah. I don't know if that is. I've actually thought about this part. Yeah. I don't know if that is me worrying that, like, my wife might have called because something happened to my daughter.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Or if it's like I need to go check my Facebook. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Joe talked about it the other night, like that he went and deleted all of his apps off of his phone. Like, I'm very tempted to do that, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, I've got a VA, like, she posts 80% of my shit anyway, right? Yeah. And I can go, like Mike was saying, and I can go on my computer and be like, these are the hours that I make posts. You know what I mean? And like go do that on my computer and not do it on my phone. I'm very tempted, and now that I'm saying it out loud with you, like, I'm very tempted to try that for a month and see how my body reacts, you know, to it.
There is a bodily thing, like
it is,
and I want to like almost like just relate to people that are out there making content and building a business, that your phone does feels like part of your body a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. So that's a great example, because like when I go diving, almost every single time, the first time I dive, my first dive for the trip, when I start going down, I pat my pocket.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
I pat my pocket. Now I don't do it like on day 2 or the rest of the trip, but like that first day, I'm like, oh fuck, is my phone? Oh, okay, no, I'm good. And I don't pat it like I need it. Yeah, but I pat it like it's got to be there. Yeah. Right. And like, I don't know if it's a comfort blanket or what it is, but I definitely do that. So I mean, I can definitely see phone maybe, but like, I've cut so many things out of my life, and I've got my nicotine and whatever, but like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, I have dropped everything out of my life. I want to have a little nicotine. I'm going to have a little nicotine.
Well, people will be like, for instance, I follow recovery meme pages on Instagram, and like, it'll be like talking about marijuana. Yeah. So I'm not a, you should be smoking marijuana and recovery guy. I feel like it's kind of the same. Like, you're getting out of your body. You're kind of like, it's kind of a mind-altering substance. So then people will, if there's a meme about that, people will talk about nicotine or like or caffeine. But I'm just like, I've never seen a guy.
Nicotine and caffeine didn't make me lose my business and my family. Exactly. And fucking, like, eat a dick. Like,
that's exactly it. You have never dealt with crazy real addiction if you're mad at nicotine.
No, I had. Did you see? I had a guy fucking come at me the other day when I made the post with the thing, and I was like, "Does your company support your nicotine habit?" Like, I just wanted to get a rile and whatever. And I had this guy who I kind of respected that is in the recovery space. Like, we're not friends or anything, but like, we're friends on Facebook. And he fucking came at me and was like, I have cut out alcohol and nicotine in my life because I cut out all my crutches and nicotine is a crutch. And I'm like, fuck you, you high horse motherfucker. Like, get off it.
Well, I don't smoke now, but like, I did take that first
year. Smoke cigarettes or weed?
Either. Oh, okay. But at the time, like,
were you a weed guy?
Yes, I smoked a lot of weed.
Okay.
And I was like a stoner.
Okay.
So if you ever catch a little stoner vibe from me, that's what it is.
Okay.
Like, I smoked a lot.
Yeah.
But cigarettes, I took a year and a half after I got sober. Because, dude, to try to fucking stop everything, dude, and then like, I was like anxiety ridden. That early recovery thing is no joke. And I think it's, if you aren't doing it and you're thinking about it, I think take one thing at a time.
100%.
Yeah. Like, don't try to like quit like.
I mean, okay, maybe we could do like booze and cocaine at the same time.
Yeah. Drugs and alcohol. But I'm saying drugs and alcohol, like, if you were trying to quit drugs and alcohol, I've talked to people that are like, then I'm quitting nicotine right now. I'm quitting. Yeah. What are some other big ones?
Really, it's nicotine and caffeine.
Caffeine, yeah. Like, and then it's like, okay, bud, like, watch yourself because like literally you're.
Well, because what's the goal here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The goal
like,
is not to die for me.
Right, exactly. So like, let's cut out the things that are going to kill you.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about your other health benefits of knocking out other things, right?
What have been, I know this is probably a review for you. You've talked about it a lot, but for our audience in this situation, what have been some of the benefits to getting sober?
Oh, Jesus. I have a life.
Yeah.
Right? I have a life. I mean, I was looking at 1 to 5 years in prison. I narrowly dodged drug charges that would have put me in for decades, for sure. I mean, I was selling cocaine. I was off a ledge, right? Today, regardless of the season that I'm in, right? Whether I'm in a down season or an up season or what it is, the life I have today, the fact that, dude, the men that are at this place with us today, right? That I get to be here and facilitate something like this, like I get to have that life because I quit drinking and using, right? Mm-hmm. So what are the benefits? I have a business. I employ people. I help people every single day. I have a career that I make money with every day. I have a family. I have a daughter, right? I have a wife that fucking doesn't worry about where I'm at every night because she assumes that I'm getting drunk, doing blow, and driving off the side of the road.
Was she with you when you were back in the day?
She met me a year sober. So my wife and daughter.
Same, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Which is amazing, but at the same time, they think your previous life is a fucking movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because she's like, it's so fun because like she doesn't even understand half the shit that I did, but like she heard that I did cocaine off the back of a toilet seat in a bar. And she thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
She's like, that's disgusting. I'm like, we're not going to even get into what disgusting is. Your bar is fucking low, sweetheart. Like, you don't know what it's like to live that life. But
I also sometimes I wish she knew, because there's something a little, and you can disagree with me on this, but there's something a little nerdy about sobriety sometimes. Like, I feel a little...
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Dude, lately, it's become fucking chic.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? It's starting to become a thing where, I wouldn't say nerdy. I think that's...
I'm just saying, I worry my wife doesn't know I'm a fucking beast. And I mean, I'm not I was the coolest person on the planet, but, sometimes I'm like, no, you don't understand. I drank a fuck ton. I also, because sometimes it does feel nerdy when you're in a social situation and people are drinking and then you're like... And I don't preach or anything, but that is a weird part of sobriety. You have to get over the social implications that sometimes people think it's fucking cool to drink, and it's
and I think that comes back to authenticity and being okay with who you are.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think I understand the sentiment behind the nerdy comment.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's the right word, but I completely understand it. I think it's more of a, especially early in sobriety, and you've been sober for a while, right?
Yeah.
How long?
I'm about to hit, probably when this will air, I'll be at 14 years.
Okay, so we've got about the same amount of time.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it's the social consciousness of it and going to events and because we were so used to every event that we would participate in revolved around alcohol, right? Yeah. But I think what people forget is that you made it revolve around alcohol.
Yeah.
They didn't, because here's a secret for everybody. Nobody gives a fuck what you do.
Yeah.
I hate to blow up your fucking ego,
yeah.
Right? But nobody gives a fuck if you drink, Tim.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a fuck if I drink. Now, the people that I drank with, you know what I mean? Maybe they did because they want me to come back out with them and kill myself and die, right? But they don't understand the implications of what happens to me if I continue down that path. But at the end of the day, you go to an event, whether it's a business event or a sporting event or whatever, the lady behind the counter at the baseball game does not care that you didn't go stand in line 3 different times so you could have 5 Bud Lights so that when you sat down, you didn't have to go get back in line again.
Yeah.
She doesn't care. Yeah. And the people around you don't fucking care. So at the end of the day, if it's really bothering you, somebody listening, because you're going to these events, maybe look at yourself a little bit and ask, why is it bothering? Why do I think it's bothering other people when it's really bothering me?
What are you spearfishing over here or what, Joe?
Just going to bring a stick into a podcast.
Just come sit down come sit down for a second.
Yeah, bring your stick.
Yeah. So this is just for this particular part, this is a segment we like to call Private Equity Corner. And
Snag me into this.
yeah.
Mm.
So what are your thoughts on the where are we at in the cycle of private equity coming into roofing? What are your thoughts on it? Are you feeling competitive with it? Are you thinking you're going to sell? What's your mindset on this? Or have you sold?
What the fuck is that?
Oh, he's just running. I'm just imagining Joe just running along the beach, just fucking spearing fish.
Spearing fish, yeah.
He's got that little bit of like
Listening to this
vibe.
This song just came on. Tim loves the song before you answer. Have you ever heard this?
Oh yeah, he's trying to get me into Nordic fucking war music.
No, but send it to me. Yeah, please send it to me. Oh, is this the playlist I didn't get? Oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. I'm still a little hurt over that anyway, so yeah. I do. Well, I'm asking now. Okay. All right, I want to hear it now. Yeah.
Joe's playlist in the description.
Yeah, in the description. Yeah. All right, what's the question?
Oh, just thoughts on private equity because I'm doing this on.
Are you gonna sell?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Ever?
And
Okay. No, so the okay was I've actually done a lot of thinking about this, right?
Yeah.
Having conversations with you that we've had makes me more apt to being open to it, right? Just because I know you and I trust you and I know what you're doing, right? And I would trust you not to fuck somebody, right? I think that most people are getting fucked. I think a lot of people don't understand the language that is going into the contracts. I think that they see a payoff, they see a payday, and they don't understand the implications of what they're actually doing and what they're actually getting in the transaction and what they're going to have to give, right?
Can you hold your spear during this? How would you
Poseidon.
Do you have any recommendations for folks that are considering how to spear the highest the highest valuation?
I think at the end of that, no, I don't, because that's not my world. But I think that people that are maybe living in the world that I'm living in size-wise is if you do start, entertaining that thought of selling or as you like to call it, partnering, like, again, it goes back to what we talked about before. Ask yourself why, right? Why are you doing it? Are you doing it because you want the money? Are you doing it because you need the money? I think you definitely shouldn't do it if you need the money. Are you doing it so you can have freedom? Okay, well, if you're doing it so you can have freedom, have you read the fine print to make sure you're going to fucking be able to have that freedom? Because I don't know if you know what I mean? Some people do and some people don't. Some people don't want the freedom, right? They want to stick around and do the rebuys and the resells and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I think asking why is extremely important. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, totally. 100%. I mean, I think you left something out.
Oh. I usually do.
Are we just trading? Is this what we're doing? Yeah. So nobody could hear my music earlier?
They probably cut off mine.
Okay, all right, good. As long as that song made it in, little clip of it,
Little
I'm happy. Yes, I would say also considering the impact on your people is going to be massive.
Yeah.
What it's going to do to them, how it's going to impact them.
Yeah.
And that can be a very good reason. That can be a very good why. So there's a lot of opportunities too.
For yes or no.
For yes or no.
Right.
Exactly. Like really taking a look at your people and considering what's in their best interest is going to be important.
I'm going to ask one more question to both of you, and then we'll wrap up the podcast. So since this is a don't try to make it an hour and a half, motherfucker.
I'm surprised you invited me
again. So in the kind of direction that we're in this week, which is badass, by the way, we're at the Exhale event, Grand Cayman, and Cult Culture is
powered by
inaugural event.
Powered by
it is. Powered by Cult Culture. Now, getting around high level people more often, I think, has been a multiplier for a lot of people's businesses. What are ways that you're doing that now, in addition to this? Like, or how else have you done it? Or how else are you thinking about doing it? Because I think this is cool as shit. So in the interest of this, getting around higher level people, how have you done that? Maybe just for folks that haven't done it as much.
Me or Joe?
Both of you.
I mean, in the beginning, I think you got to buy your way into a room, right? Like a lot of times you got to buy your way into a room. But the other way to do it too is like even on a local level, like if you're very, very new, young, whatever it is, and you're figuring out and joining your different networking groups or finding you're like, hey, I'd really like to know that guy, and literally going to just ask them a question and be a mentor, because people, and I hate using the word mentor because like mentor implies free help, right? And like we've all only got so much time, to be able to give to our people, right? So then to give it to some random folks, but people that have been around for a while in business, they want to answer questions, right? Like they want to help other people. They don't want to see people fail as a general rule. So I think you have to have the courage, and I think it takes courage, and I didn't have it in the beginning, right? Because naturally I'm an introvert and I'm actually naturally very shy. And like, so I would not have the balls to just go walk into a room and go talk to people. So I paid to be in some rooms, right? So what happened organically after that? I paid to be in some rooms, and then I made legitimate friendships with some of the people in those rooms. Not all of them, but some of them. And then all of a sudden it was like, man, I like hanging out with you. And the other person's like, man, I kind of like hanging out with you too. Why don't you come into this room with me? Because I'd like us to win together, because it'd be really fun to win together, right? Now all of a sudden you're in a new room and you've got a new friend, right? If you're cool and people like you, right? So be cool and have people like you, because if they don't, it's probably not going to work, right? And then all of a sudden you're in a new room and it's like, hey, we should all win together. That'd be fucking cool. And then I think that's how it exponentially starts to grow. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, all that. It was, I think that was spot on, especially keeping in mind those people want to help, right? I had massive amounts of help early on in my career, and I wasn't afraid to ask. I was just gave zero fucks.
Right.
But I had a lot of help. Jim Johnson was one specifically. Yeah. Heidi Bloom was another. Contractor Coach Pro. Yeah. Roofer's Coffee Shop. Heidi. She was with Eagleview at the time. But there was a lot of people, and they helped me. So now I'm at the point I'm trying to return. I'm trying to pay it forward. Period. So I think.
And you do. For help, just like from an outside perspective, like
try.
You are that guy.
It's my intention.
You accomplish it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I try. I would say on top of that, being valuable. You said it. You hit it right on the head. Winning together.
Yeah.
I think every successful person wants to win with other people. That's just the way that business works, right? You do better when you're winning with other people.
Yep.
So you have to go in and prove that you're going to be able to provide value in that situation as well. You're going to be able to contribute. So if you're just going in looking for ways to contribute and be a valuable person to those individuals, they're going to pick up on it.
If you're only looking to take, they're going to feel that immediately as well.
Immediately, and you'll get less than a minute.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, really great to meet you. Best of luck. Have a nice life.
Yep.
Can I say something? So, an interesting.
Show.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm pushing. Okay.
Should we tell them no?
Yeah, exactly.
It is interesting though, because so let's say you were being useful, and you're being useful for a long time. Like, and I'm sure this sounds like I'm like, oh, give me. But like, let's say you try to be useful, and you're kind of anxious about like, that's a lot of young professionals or like early business owners, or even 5, even 10 years into business, because life is long. The first 10 years is the hardest, right? You're kind of anxious you're like, I hope the fucking rewards start.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I feel like I have a lot of rewards, but I'm saying like there's those moments where you're giving and you're pushing in and you're feeling like kind of anxious to like, basically like I'm saying like business development stuff, and like you feel like you should be going faster. One of my intentions here is to learn how to go a little bit faster, because
does that feeling stem from that you think that the quote unquote reward, right, should be that group or that person that you have surrounded yourself with should be taking you further?
No, it's
right, because
in my case it's 100% like I just want my business to be going faster,
because you should be learning from that person and then taking it off. So like
definitely always learn in these situations. I love these situations. I'm so incredibly grateful for any times I'm around higher level business owners, and that's the best part of my job. One of the best parts of my job. But I'm always like, well, for instance, we're at 5 million, my business, and I'm like, if I could get to 10 million, and this goes to our original topic about quickness and not being too quick because you make dumb decisions. I'm always like, fuck, if I could just make 10 million happen in 2 years instead of 5. You know how exponential shit works, where it's like, if you can go a little quicker, like they always say, if you're investing, your first $100,000 is the hardest to invest. And then everyone goes faster after that because of the power of compounding. And I assume that kind of happens with business too. There's a little bit of a compounding. Like definitely the last $1 million was way easier than the second $1 million.
It compounds in relationships.
Yeah.
Right? It compounds in relationships. I think then the relationships equate back to the business, right? Yeah. If you're only focusing on the business and you're only focusing on the money, I think that the compounding is slower. And I think if you're focusing and your intention is on the relationships that you're having, and that there's not an immediate give back of it, you're actually just focusing on what you care about, right? Like, I just want to be friends with Joe, right? Like, Joe and I are just friends.
That's why I'm here.
Right, honestly. Exactly. Like none of us had an intention.
The people I knew
when we
were
came
super
here.
cool.
Yeah, I just want to hang out with cool people.
Everybody else is going to be as well if they know these guys.
Right, but here's the other thing that I know is that if there's an opportunity down the road for us to be able to work together in some capacity, we're gonna fucking do it.
Yeah.
Well, we already are.
Right, exactly. yeah. But you know what I'm saying, right?
And I'll just throw my final little thing here is like, I think I appreciate that a lot. I think I'm voicing a very natural concern for a lot of people of like, they're obsessed with, a lot of you guys, I'm sure the audience, obsessed with your business and you're wanting to go fast. Like
start getting obsessed. Start getting obsessed with the relationships.
Yeah. Okay.
Start getting obsessed with the relationships and everything else will follow. Yeah. Would you agree?
I totally agree. Absolutely. Relationships are everything, and if you and be careful what you wish for there too. We had 2017 for my first company. We hit our 5-year sales goal 3 years ahead of time. Similar growth to what you're describing. It was not great.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the podcast. I'll save that story for you later, but it was not great. And Matthew, who's here, he lived through it. Mm-hmm. And it was, I think nobody would have wished for it. And the following year, we cut in half. Intentionally cut in half. So
and
if you go too fast, you might end up pulling back.
And that's an ego hit, right? Because I've had to do that where I've had to lean down so that I can regrow, right? And that's tough to fucking do because you're like, man, then you feel like you failed when you really didn't. You just had to, I'll finish with the word that we started with, you just had to pivot, right? Like I had to pivot to lean down so now I can regrow with everything. And I think that's something that is lost, and that we have such egos in business and as owners and entrepreneurs, we have such egos that when we do that, because my ego got fucking hit like hard when I had to do it. And I tried to call friends, but like I had to call friends and be like, I texted you and was like, hey man, like, can we talk for a minute? And then I never followed up because I was too embarrassed to like have the conversation. But people need to be able to do that. I need to be better at that. Like when I'm going through something like that, to be like, hey man, what'd you do when this happened to you? Right? Because we can learn so much from each other, but we only can if we have the relationships, right? So we can't learn from other people if we don't have those relationships, unless we're just going and learning on YouTube, right? From people that we don't know.
Yeah, and it is like you say, you talk about ego. It is weird because like I feel like I've got what I need, like as far as like personal stuff, and like I'm not like in like a crazy mansion or like a beautiful house or anything. I feel like I've got what I need though. I generally have what I want and need. So it is ego. It's not just money. Like I'm not like, oh, I need to feed my family anymore.
Right.
I'm like, it's just a total ego thing. It's distracting for sure.
And you gotta have a little bit of it, right?
Yeah,
like,
I like.
You gotta have a little bit of it, and I get that, right? But if we don't have the self-awareness to know when it's ego and when it's not, that's when this starts to happen. If you don't have the self-awareness is everything. Knowing when you're doing something for the wrong reasons and knowing when you're doing something for the right reasons and being able to adjust if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, because that might work for this long, but then it fucking tanks, right? I mean, we can name 4 people that we all have followed over the last 7 years that happened to, you know, right? And it was all ego driven that got them to where they thought they needed to be. And then all of a sudden the bottom fell out because at the end of the day, they were actually real fucking pieces of shit. Yeah. Right?
Well,
self-awareness is a bitch.
That's a tough one.
Well, I'll let you, Joe. You round up the podcast. You saw how I did it up there. Just do the end of podcast stuff.
We're wrapping up the
We're
wrapping up the
stuff.
podcast.
Yeah, you're wrapping it. And I think it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect.
We'll just end it like mine. Be authentic or get the fuck out.
You had to throw that. You don't think I could do it perfect?
Oh, you could potentially
land the plane, Joe.
Oh shit! Here we go. All right, so here's the deal. Wrapping this up, I got a feeling what these guys were talking about throughout this. If you want to build your business and you want to make your business stronger, there's a few ways to do it. One, you can sign up with Hook Agency. I can definitely attest to their effectiveness. But to Eric's point, it is all relationships, and relationships in business, in your specific business, start with culture. And so I'm going to also give a shout out to what we're doing right here and the cult culture movement. You should definitely look that up. If you join, I'm going to be joining it, so we can hang out together on some podcasts and maybe in some badass place next year. Peace.
Love that.
Is that perfect?
Exactly. Peace, guys.